camping deep in the woods, so lovely, so peaceful, so quiet. A place where the world fades away and all that's left is the sound of your own breath and the crunch of leaves beneath your boots. But what if that breath isn't yours? What if the silence isn't peace, but rather a warning? A ranger with years of experience, a hiker nursing a broken heart, and a camper hoping to escape the noise of the world. 3 different people, 3 different forests, 1 disturbing truth. Welcome to Weird Encounters, a place where the ordinary fades into shadow and the unexplainable comes alive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and become part of our ever-growing community of the curious. Now prepare yourself, because what you are about to hear is not for the faint of heart. I've never written something like this before, and to be honest, I kept it to myself for a long time. But after watching your YouTube channel the last few months and seeing that other people have sent stuff in like this, I guess I just want someone else to know it happened. I've been with the Park Service for 12 years now, stationed mostly out of Shenandoah National Park in Virginia. Most of my patrol work has been centered around the South District, places like Black Rock Summit, Trayfoot Mountain, and up along the Doyles River Trail system. I know these woods like the back of my hand, or at least, I thought I did. This happened back in May of 2018. The reason I remember the date is because it was right after we had that storm that washed out part of Skyline Drive. Heavy rains tore up parts of the Ridge Trail and dropped a few big trees across the stream crossings near Brown's Gap. So they sent me and another ranger, Matt, to hike the old maintenance trail that winds down to Jones Run to check for more damage and clear out debris. Matt was good company, kind of quiet, but dependable. Retired Army, came into the service late in life. He was one of those guys who never acted spooked about anything. It was supposed to be a 2-day check, camp overnight near the falls, hike out at dawn. The kind of thing I've done 100 times. We never made it through. The first weird thing happened when we got to the ridgeline above Jones Run. The trail was fine, but there was this stink in the air. At first, I thought maybe something had died. Deer carcass, or even a bear. But it wasn't rot exactly, it was more wet meat. That's how Matt put it. Like wet meat left in the sun, but not spoiled yet. Sharp, metallic, almost like blood. We didn't say much about it, just kept walking. But after about 30 minutes, we found this clearing just off the trail, wasn't on the map, and that's where we found the remains. It looked like a deer, or used to be. The rib cage was split open like something ripped it, clean. But the thing that made my stomach turn was the bones. They were polished, not chewed, cut, like they'd been stripped. Matt said something wasn't right. He crouched to check for prints, said there were some bare human footprints nearby. Bare, as in no boots, no shoes, but they were huge, easily size 14 or 15, long toes, deep heel imprints. He started to say something else, but stopped. Just kind of stared off into the woods, like he was listening to something I couldn't hear. We made camp early that night. I didn't sleep much, neither did Matt. At one point, I heard what sounded like a child laughing, then about 10 minutes later screaming. Not human screaming, more like someone trying to sound like a person, repeating the same scream again and again, same cadence, same pitch, like a recording. I asked Matt what he thought it was. He said he didn't want to guess. Next morning, he was gone. His gear was there, backpack, boots, even his sidearm, just gone. No sign of a struggle, no tracks, nothing. I spent the better part of the day looking for him, radioing in, but the unit wouldn't connect. We were too low in the valley. I eventually decided I'd hike up to the overlook and try again. On the way back up, that smell came back. Stronger this time, sharp enough to make my nose bleed. I had to stop and sit down. My vision went tunnel-like. I thought maybe I was having some kind of reaction. That's when I heard the whispering. It wasn't in my ear, but it was close. It was low, and it didn't make any sense. Just syllables, over and over. Like chanting, but broken. I looked around and saw nothing. The trees were still, not even a bird. Then, to my left, I saw a figure watching from behind a thick pine. It was naked, or I think it was. Pale, dirty skin. Bones pressing through its chest, and its mouth was too wide. I swear to you, it stretched open like it had too many teeth. I didn't even move. I couldn't. It just stared, blinking real slow. Then it ducked behind the tree. When I ran to where it had been, it was gone. That night I stayed awake with my knife in hand and didn't build a fire. Every so often I'd hear twigs snap, and then laughing, always just out of sight. The next morning I left everything behind and hiked out. When I got back to the ranger station, I didn't even report half of it. Just said Matt wandered off. Maybe slipped, maybe injured. They did a search for 3 days. Found nothing. Here's the part that's been sitting with me. About a month later, I got called into the superintendent's office. They told me the matter was closed and to stop asking around. They said the report was misfiled and that Matt had voluntarily separated from service. But I saw his badge still in the lost gear pile. Still had blood on the strap. And then, about 6 months ago, I got an envelope at my house. No return address. Inside was a piece of torn cloth, same pattern as Matt's field jacket, and a note that said, "He's still hungry." I don't go to Jones Run anymore. Whatever is out there isn't a bear. It's not a person either. I think it's something older, or something twisted. My name is Ray. I'm 38 now, but back when this happened, I was 32 and going through a rough patch, just divorced, working a dead-end job in Asheville and basically just trying to get my head straight. I'd gotten into solo hiking. Something about being alone in nature made the noise in my brain calm down. I was doing weekend hikes in and around Pisgah National Forest, usually short trails, but this one weekend I got the itch to do something more intense, an overnighter. I picked the Black Balsam Knob Trail because it had some elevation, decent views, and wasn't supposed to be too busy that time of year. It was mid-October, and the leaves were unreal, like the forest was on fire with color. That was the last beautiful thing I remember. I got to the trailhead mid-afternoon Saturday and hiked in maybe 5 or 6 miles. I veered slightly off trail near Sam Knob to find a good place to camp. I didn't want to be too close to anyone else. That was my mistake. I had a small tent set up in a little hollow surrounded by rhododendrons and dense trees. It was dead quiet by the time the sun dipped behind the ridges. Not a single bird call. It was weird now that I think of it, but at the time I chalked it up to the season. Around 1 a.m., I woke up. I don't know why. It wasn't a noise that got me up, it was a feeling, like when someone's staring at you in a crowded room. My body just knew something was wrong. I sat up, and my tent was lit faintly by the moon outside. Then I heard it, something moving, slow, dragging steps outside the tent, not circling, just pacing. Left to right, then stopping. Then the sound of breathing, not normal breathing. This was deep, wet, like whatever it was had water or mucus in its lungs. I didn't have a real weapon, only a pocket knife. I whispered to myself, telling myself it was a bear or maybe a boar, but the pacing kept happening, back and forth, then scratching, light, like a fingernail across canvas, just like one claw, slow and creepy. I laid back down, not even breathing. I was too scared to even unzip the tent. Eventually, the sound stopped. But then something else began. A voice. It didn't sound like English at first. It was whispering, from farther away now. And it didn't sound right. I don't know how to describe it. Like a recording played backwards, like it was trying to sound human, but wasn't. Around 3 a.m., I snapped. I packed everything as fast as I could, and I got out of there before the sun came up. I remember the trail felt different on the way out. I mean the actual ground. It was soft, like too soft, like moss or mulch had been laid over parts of it overnight. I didn't feel safe until I got back to the parking area and saw other cars. But even then, I noticed something else that made my stomach twist. There were footprints outside the trailhead sign, not hiking boots. They were barefoot and human-shaped, but huge, at least 14 inches long and thin, like a tall, sick person. When I got home, I told my buddy Clay, who grew up in Brevard. He didn't laugh like I expected. He just nodded and said, "People don't camp out there for a reason." He said there's been talk since the 70s of strange things around Black Balsam, something called a whistler that stalks people. Locals say it's part of Cherokee lore, a spirit that mimics voices to lure you. He also said a ranger went missing out there back in '93. Since that trip, I haven't been back. I sold all my camping gear. I don't even walk trails anymore. I know what I heard. I know something was out there, and it wasn't an animal. Whatever it was, knew I was alone. It wanted me to know it was there. It didn't want to hurt me that night. It wanted me to be afraid. And I still am. Southern Ohio's Wayne National Forest stretches deep and wide, miles of forgotten trails, ghost towns, and dark canopy. But sometimes, something else stretches through it too. Something with a shape, darker than night itself. My name is Lucas R. I'm from Dayton, Ohio, and I've been camping on and off for years. Usually solo, sometimes with my cousin, but this time I went alone. I needed space. That week had been awful. Laid off from work, I broke up with my girlfriend, and my dog died all in the same month. So, I packed my gear and drove down to Wayne National Forest. I always liked the Vinton County side of the forest. Fewer people, more peace. I parked off a back road near Zaleski, hiked in about 3 miles, and set up near one of the old, abandoned logging trails. The forest felt still. Not quiet, but respectful, if that makes any sense. The kind of quiet where you can hear your own blood pumping in your ears. I had a fire going by 6:30 p.m. and just enough bars on my phone to text my mom, "Safe and camping. Love you." Then I switched it off. No distractions, just me in the woods. That's what I wanted. But by midnight, I regretted everything. The fire had died down. I was zipped up in my tent, half asleep, when I heard something walking. Not like a raccoon or a fox. This was heavy, big, crunching twigs, rustling through underbrush. Steady. It circled my sight once. Then again. I held my breath, listened, waited. It stopped just behind the tent. There was no sound, just a wait. Like the trees themselves were holding their breath. I didn't dare move. I didn't even breathe for a good 30 seconds. Then I heard a sound I can't explain. Not a growl, not a breath. It was like vibration. Not from the ground, but from the air itself. Like something was humming right above my tent, just low enough to feel it in my bones. It moved, not walked. Moved. Like gliding, just around the perimeter of the clearing. I unzipped the tent an inch and peeked out. What I saw shouldn't exist. There was a shape just beyond the fire pit, barely visible in the dying fire's glow. It was black. Not dark clothing black. Just black, like a deep shadow. It didn't reflect any light. It sucked it in. And it stood upright. 8 feet tall at least, arms longer than they should be. I couldn't see a face, just 2 dim orange spots, like embers, where the eyes should be. It tilted its head, like a bird studying something. I didn't blink. I couldn't. Then it was gone. No sound. No motion. Just vanished. I stayed in the tent, knife in hand, all night. I didn't sleep. Not 1 second. At dawn, I stepped outside. No prints, no broken branches, but my gear had been moved. My backpack was 30 feet away, neatly placed upright, and near the fire pit, drawn in ash. It was a perfect spiral. I packed everything and got out. I didn't talk about it. Not to anyone. But since that night, I haven't camped once. I still hike. I still go to parks. But I don't stay overnight, and I don't go near Wayne Forest anymore. And some nights, when it's real quiet outside, I hear that hum, that bone-deep hum, and I know it's still out there. And so, another strange encounter fades away. A trick of the mind, or something far more unsettling. That's for you to decide. Thank you so much for watching my stories. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your support is what keeps this channel going.